All right. There we go. We are recording. This is now live. All your mistakes will be here for the world to see for the rest of eternity.
Cool.
All
Thanks.
right.
I really
Welcome
appreciate
to the
that.
show. This is Aquarist Assemble. This is brought to you by Creekwood.aquatics, a better class of nutrition. I can see your little face right now. Creekwood.aquatics is a small aquaculture company based out of Floresville, Texas, with the idea of bringing live foods directly to you, farm to aquarium. All right. Over here, I have my friend or so, Samantha.
The hell?
Please introduce yourself to everybody.
Hi, I'm Samantha, Nelson's friend, and I'm an aquarist. I work with him, for him, with him, and I've been in the
Adjacent.
fish,
Adjacent.
and I've been in the fish profession, aquarium profession for over 10 years now, like 12, I think, 12 years.
Tell us about the beginning of that journey.
Like the beginning, like
Let's
what
go
got me
back
into it.
to what started you on the aquarium hobby.
So what started me is my mom always had a freshwater setup at home, and she had like a big 55 planted tank. I don't remember what fish she had in there because my concern was always my own little 30-gallon that she set up for me and that I was in charge of. I did nothing for it other than just pick the fish, and my mom would do everything else, and it was always just neon tetras and glass cats. And that's what got me into it.
All right. What is your earliest aquarium memory?
Probably that little tank, watching the little neon tetras swim around with the little strings of poop hanging out of their butts. I didn't hate that like some people did. I always thought it was really funny. But I know you get personally offended by that. So
What Samantha's referring to is that earlier we were talking about um, my old aquarium set was back home in New Jersey, and my room was basically based in the sunroom. And in order to get to the backyard, people had to kind of go through my room. And occasionally, I would have stragglers walk into my side and start looking at all my aquariums. And then people would scream like, "Oh my God, what is that?" And every time I went in there, I had a 8-inch pleco who always had the longest string of poop. It would like touch like it was a 75-gallon tank, and it would like touch the end of the aquarium. So I would have to go there and tap on the glass so he shook and the little poop fell off. But it's
you're just
always
like
been a pet peeve. It's always been something
you're
that's always bothered me. So when
like
people come to my house
assaulting
and
your
my fish have
aquarium.
and there's a little piece of poop hanging out of my fish's butt, I always just give a little tap on the glass to make it fall off.
You're like assaulting your fish and like attacking them for just doing what comes naturally. The rest of us were just embracing it and laughing about it.
I'm like,
But
you could do that after the guests
whatever.
leave. You don't have to do that now. You don't have to
I don't know
embarrass
that
me in front of all my friends and family.
I don't know that fish concern themselves with social niceties, Nelson. Like, I don't know about that.
All right, let's keep going. Are you currently keeping any fish at home?
No, because we had that big snowstorm come through 2, 3 years ago, and I lost everything in the snowstorm. And after watching all of my fish and all of the coral that I had like collected for years die, I really just didn't want to get back into it. I couldn't bring myself to like set up another tank, especially after the loss of I had an orange hammer that I like had gotten kind
Those
of
are nice.
special from an old boss. Yeah. And so like that was the one that like watching it die, I couldn't do it again.
I think as a course, we all have those times where you spend all this time, all this effort, all this love, all this energy building these tanks, these exhibits for your own personal enjoyment. And then things like Hurricane Irene, Hurricane Sandy come and kind of take it all away. And there's been a few times like that where I've almost just completely walked away from this hobby.
Yeah.
even career-wise when those things happen. But I think in time, this is an itch that doesn't go away. So I think eventually you might do it. I mean, you might have your fix, by just the job that we currently have with all those aquariums, all those fish. I think that kind of fits that niche, kind of fills that need. Um, but for me, again, I do this for a career. I do this personally. I do this for a side hustle. Um, I just enjoy the freedom, the creativity. I like to just push these boundaries as much as I can. And when you work for a big box store, if you work for a small aquarium or whatever, um, they're not your enclosures. You have to do things the way, to a different standard, to their standard. But when you get to go home, you get to do the things you want. So again,
Yeah.
I think eventually you'll come back around.
Probably. Tanner, my boyfriend has a tank right now that he's got like a pleco and a boatload of shrimp in right now. And when he first set it up, I found myself getting way, way too into it. And I was like telling him how to do things. And I was over there like counting the baby shrimp every day, like trying to figure out how many he had. And then at some point it was just too close and I had to let it go. But so it'll
What
come
might
back.
fix that? What might
What?
fix that is a beta from Creekwood.aquatics. If you actually go to the Creekwood.aquatics website, here's the link just in case anyone's missing it. You can also follow us.
Damn it, no.
You can also follow us on all social medias at Creekwood.aquatics. But if you browse our shop, you're going to come across all of our live food offerings. You'll come across our betas, our live fish. We also have platies, guppies, and other shrimp available.
I will do it for
I'm
one
following
of
the script. The script says plug Creekwood Aquatics right here. So
Oh, is that?
thanks,
Yeah,
Sam.
you wrote it out in the script. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah,
I will
there
do
it
it
says
for
plug
one.
Creekwood Aquatics. And there is Sam. Sam is now gone. We'll give Sam a second to assemble herself.
I'm so sorry. I got too excited about the betas.
Sam is back, everyone.
I am.
For the people who are listening to the podcast and trying to figure out what exactly is going on, this is just what this is going to be. Don't kick the tires too hard on this car. We'll get through it.
It'll only get us so far.
My next question is, what is your favorite fish? And do you have a fish that you're excited to maybe work with in the future?
So I have a favorite fish that I work with now and a favorite fish that I've worked with in the past. And the one that I've worked with in the past is a Catalina goby. And I know you know that because I know like every other week I say the words Catalina goby to you and cold water exhibit and how cool that would be, Nelson. And you haven't listened to me yet, but I happen to know they're at a fish store in town. So I'm just going to use this to maybe like make that attempt one more time. But my favorite fish that I work with right now is probably it's the Leopoldi rays. That they're so cool. Yeah, they have such big personalities and they definitely like our big female that I take care of. She will come up to the glass and say hi to me every morning. And she totally knows who I am and I can like communicate with like taps on the glass to her and all that. And so that has made me like fall in love with them.
Here's a big side point referring to that. A lot of people think that fish are kind of dumb, and some are, but some fish actually have the ability to recognize the people who actually provide the care. I know puffers are a big fish that definitely do recognize people. A lot of triggers, occasionally some groupers. But even like the African cichlids, especially at my house, once you walk through the door, they all kind of just migrate towards the door and they'll actually follow you across the threshold until they can't see you anymore, and then they kind of go back to their normal NPC like behavior.
Floating.
But no, fish are very smart, and there's actually some people who have done target training with betas, and they've taught them to swim through little rings, and they get their enrichment. But yeah, fish have the ability to learn, to recognize, and I think more people, when they set up these aquariums at home, they'll see more of those behaviors where they actually do recognize their caretakers.
Yeah.
My next question is, what is the most valuable piece of information or advice that you've ever been given for the aquarium hobby or in life in general? Like, remember to rotate wires.
Well, I mean, in life in general, it's that nobody's watching you, so do whatever the hell you want. It doesn't matter. In the aquarium hobby, probably top off your tank with fresh water, not with salt water. I want to say that's probably no. Don't chase numbers. I think don't chase numbers. Just let things go. It'll work itself out. These systems have a way of correcting themselves to an extent, and if you're in the ballpark, the coral, the fish, the plants, they don't know if you're within however many points of being on like some like made up spectrum that we've like assigned numbers to. They just know if they're getting enough of what they need. So it doesn't have to be exact. It doesn't have to be perfect. They're living animals and or plants, and they'll find a way to like correct for what we do. As long as things don't get too drastic, as long as you're in the ballpark.
Yeah, chasing numbers is one of those things. Being in the hobby for over 20 years, working multiple places, especially customers that come into the shops, and they like discus are a big example. Everyone always wants to have the super low pH and all that stuff, and they just spend forever trying to chase these numbers, and they're trying to make their RO water perfect and this and that. And with the reef tanks, with their calcium alkalinity, and those guys, they're kind of like on a seesaw, and you raise one, the other one drops, and people keep trying to find that little happy balance. But yeah, trying to chase numbers, trying to chase alkalinity, all that stuff. Our tanks are living ecosystems. They change every day. I mean, just having your lights off at night, your pH is naturally going to drop. And then when you turn that light on, that pH is going to raise throughout the day. I've known people who've had those automated trackers on the Neptune, the Apex systems. And throughout the day, if they look at their pH, they'll just kind of watch it go back and forth. But that's the system buffering itself out. The fish are they're gonna respirate, they're gonna defecate, they're gonna lower that pH, and then that crushed coral is gonna bring that pH right back up. But yeah, trying to drive yourself crazy looking at testing your aquariums and doing all this stuff, it makes the hobby a lot more frustrating than it needs to be. I'm glad you brought that up. Next question is:
you get yourself into these like. No. Go ahead.
All right. Well,
then you get yourself into these. Like...
It's fine. There's a 2-second delay.
I know. Ask the question.
So, being realistic, like, when I started my career, I didn't see myself doing this forever. When I started, this was a job straight out of high school, and I was just trying to make money to buy a card and press girls and stuff like that. Yeah, the guy working at the fish store. But I never saw myself having the success in my career that I did. So I'm in it for the long haul. But my question is, like, how long do you see yourself in this type of career? Is this something that you're planning on trying to do as long as possible, or is there other goals that you might try to hit?
No, this is definitely like a long-term thing for me. The job I'm in right now is known for being like kind of a physical field, and I know a lot of people put like a limit on that just because there's only so long your body can take it, but I think we're pretty lucky with where we are now that we're set up for success in that it's not too like awfully physical. We're inside most of the time, so the heat's not an issue or anything like that. But even if I were to get out of this aspect, like the animal care aspect, I'd probably go more towards management or more towards like research even or something, but I want to be involved with this field for as long as I can because it's such a fascinating field and I feel like I've like found my calling. So yeah, I'm going to be here for a little while.
It's really sad and it's really unfortunate. But you know, when I interview people for positions, or even when I talk to my friends or family, whatever, I tell them I didn't get into the aquarium field to be rich. Like that's never going to happen. We do this job because we love it. It's fulfilling and it enriches our lives. Um, but like, yeah, if you think in your career, if you want to make money, maybe just fix ACs or to be a plumber, be an actual plumber. Like maybe I could take my actual skills, my plumbing skills, and just become a plumber and make an actual living.
I'm just going to try to marry rich. I'm not with the right person right now, but someday.
um, so, do you have any funny aquarium stories? And I know you have one, and you're going to tell it right now.
Oh, is this the sea
Yes.
monkey story? Oh. So this is another one of my origin stories, and Nelson, you're not allowed to make fun of me during this, but when I was little, we had a lady that would come to our house every Saturday to clean, just to like sweep, mop, whatever, like help tidy up. And she was a really nice lady. Her name was Maria, and she did not speak a lot of English. And for the most part it was fine, but I had the little like sea monkey kits that you could get where it was like a little dome with like a castle inside, and they would send you the like freeze dried brine shrimp eggs, and you would add it in and like wait, and it felt like weeks, but really it was probably like 24, 48 hours. And then you could sit there and watch them like scooting around in the water, and we couldn't really like figure out a way to communicate to Maria what they were. And the first time she got to my house and the sea monkeys were like set up in the window, she thought the water was dirty, so she dumped them out and threw my sea monkeys away. And I noticed, and my mom was like, "Ooh, that's awkward. It's okay. I'll buy you more. It'll be fine. I'll explain it to her next week." And she didn't explain it to her, and my sea monkeys got thrown out again. So now every time we talk about brine shrimp at work and I have to explain to people what they are, and I'm like, those little sea monkey kits, I get to relive all of my past trauma. But she was a really nice lady. She just didn't know.
I I love that story. It's kind of like
I,
trauma.
it's my childhood trauma. It's why I like was so careful with the Noplii cultures at work. And you're making fun of my trauma like a jerk.
So, what are some things that you want to do in the future? Um, and is there anything that you've accomplished that you are proud of?
I mean, I'm really just proud of, well, no. Okay, you know what? Ribbon eels. At my last job, I got a ribbon eel to eat frozen food on like the second week that we had them, like within that span. And I'm really proud of that because my coworker and I sat there for like hours offering these ribbon eels, shrimp, and krill and whatever we could feed them. And we finally got them to take. And to date, that is probably my biggest accomplishment. Um, Man, I don't get to talk about that enough. I'm really proud of that one. What was the second part of the question? What I want to do in the future?
What do you want to do in the future?
Convince you to get more ribbon eels and Catalina gobies. But no, I think I'd like to do more coral work. I'd like to get involved with the Florida Reef Tracks corals and stuff like that, and work on propagating and helping out some of those species and getting them introduced back into the wild and seeing what we can do there. For now, that's my short/long-term goal. Past that, I don't know, but that's ultimately my goal.
So you brought up the ribbon eel, and I do have a funny ribbon eel story. So back when I was working at one of the pet shops, they ordered a ribbon eel, and I remember the day it came in, and I was staring at it, and I was like, "That thing's not going to eat." So I went and I did all my services for the day, and I came back, and the ribbon eel was gone, and I was like, "Oh." It's like, "Oh well." So I think a month later, I was doing my rounds to take care of all my clients, and I go to one of their homes and I look at their reef tank, and there's a ribbon eel just hanging out in the rocks. And I was like, "Dude, when did you get that?" And they're like, "Oh, we got it last month." And I was like, "Dude, those don't eat." I go, "What has it been eating?" And they're like, "We don't know. It's been eating his damsels. Just been eating his damsels."
Oh yeah, checks out. Yeah.
Anyway, I warned him about it.
Okay.
And he's like, "Yeah, it'll be fine. It'll be fine." So the next month, I go to his house, and I'm looking for the ribbon eel, and I don't see it. So I called him over, and I said, "Hey, when was the last time you saw your ribbon eel?" He goes, "Oh, he was there earlier today. I saw him." I was like, "Are you sure?" He goes, "Yeah." So I'm doing the service, so I'm opening up the cabinets, and I'm pulling out the FX5 filters and all that stuff, and then in the corner, I see what looks like a little piece of beef jerky. So I reached over and I pulled out the ribbon eel, and he was all crispy and covered with dust. And I called the guy over, and I was like, "You saw him today, right?" And he goes, "Dude, that must have just happened." I go, This didn't just happen. This guy's been here for a minute." Don't buy ribbon eels. Sam, you're frozen. There you are. You're back. Can you see me? No. Let's see.
Oh.
Here, I'm gonna pause for a second. Paused it. We had some technical difficulties.
Okay,
Thank you, Spectrum Internet. Thank you, Spectrum Internet, for all the services you provide for your community. You know, one thing that I always found reliable about Spectrum Internet, shots fired. The one thing I could always depend on with Spectrum Internet is that when I got home every day at 4:30, the internet would just go out. Didn't matter what I was doing. Didn't matter. 4:30, internet went out. Thank you, Spectrum.
Is that something your mom had set up just so you wouldn't like cause trouble?
No, this is when I moved to San Antonio. So I moved to San Antonio after a full hard day of work. I was like, I'm gonna go home. I'm play some Destiny. I get on there. Me and my friends are doing a raid. 4:30, bam, internet out. I was like, perfect. Every day. Like, I was like, you know what? No one called me until like 5:30.
I thought this was something your mom had worked out just to like keep you from causing trouble on the internet, but in turn you just like took apart another VCR or something. Like...
Sam is bringing up the fact that I've told her in confidence that, hey, Mom, don't listen to this. But, you know what's funny? What's funny is I'm telling all these strangers all these personal stories, and then I think about my mom who also watches this. I was like, oh my god, she's gonna know everything that I've done. But yes, while I was home from school, I would take apart the VCRs. I would take them apart by the component level, and I would put them back together. And then you guys would get home, and the VCR wouldn't work. And Dad
You need
had to drive to Walgreens to pick up another VCR.
you need to play like confessions while you're like saying this. I didn't think it was like a secret. You never like, hey, don't tell my mom if she ever shows up. Like
Sorry about all the VCRs. Sorry about the TV. The DVD players always went back together. You guys never knew about that. But one day I'll pay you back for all the VCRs that I took apart.
yeah, with all the Creekwood.aquatics money. That sounded like a shot. It wasn't. I believe in you. I believe in what you're doing.
Oh God, I'm crying. I got tears in my eyes. All right. Well, that pretty much ends all the questions that I have. I mean, I think we've had a good time. I probably gonna have to call my mom as soon as I end this.
Is she watching? Like, is she gonna watch this as soon as it comes out?
Oh my God! The last time I shot my first episode 1, I uploaded it, and at 4 in the morning it got 1 like. And I was like, who's watching this at 4 in the morning? I called my mom the next day and she goes, I was your first viewer. I left it a like. I'm like, why are
that's
you
the
up at
cutest
4 in the
thing.
morning?
Isn't she a
She's
teacher
like,
or
I
something?
check your YouTube. I check it right before I go to bed. And I check it first thing in the morning. I'm like, you got other kids.
That's the cutest thing you've ever said. Don't even. That's adorable. Although it's what my mom would do too. She would want to be my first guest on my podcast if I set one up. So,
All right, Sam, last question for you. If you had to pick a food to feed your fish, what would you feed them? That's right. It would be live Daphnia from Creekwood.aquatics.com.
Gonna say Vienna sausages just to trigger you.
But yes, you can pick up live Daphnia, you can pick up Mona, you can pick up your rotifers and your phytoplanktons, both the marine and freshwater versions at Creekwood.aquatics.com. Website is listed below. And again, you can follow us at all social medias at Creekwood Aquatics. Thanks, Sam, for plugging our products. We appreciate it.
Of course, anytime. Yeah. With your NPR voice, of course.
She said she was going to say that.
It's because you kept imitating yourself and you sounded like you were making announcements.
This is my co-host, Pebbles. She's been with me the entire time, but Pebbles is going to wave bye to the audience. Right, Pebbles? She doesn't want to be here.
Oh.
And thank you, Sam.